Welcome, ladies and gents, to the channel for the first time, or welcome back if you are joining us again for our next video, which is Leia. We're going to be going over strategies, tips and tricks, ways to stay alive as Leia for longer, and also her best star cards, at least in my opinion. With Leia, she's actually a really well-balanced character. She had a complete makeover just before the developers stopped working on the game. So the way she is right now is exactly the way she's going to be for the rest of, I guess, Battlefront 2's lifespan, however long that ends up being. Hopefully it's longer rather than shorter, because I love the game, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you probably love the game as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So this first one, optimize shield deployment. You're just going to be able to deploy that shield more frequently. This is actually one of the few cards I don't really recommend you use, just because she has so many cards that I think are great, and I actually don't have a top 3 that I run with her. I am constantly switching it up because I can't ever decide, but that's actually not one of the cards that's in the running. I think her shield already has a quick deployment time. Like, you could throw a shield down, sit around that thing for quite a while, and you'll actually see how fast that it's recharging right now. Now, I think that's actually because how close I am to other friendlies, but it's still part of Leia's thing. She's basically like an officer, but better. All around, she's just a great hero if you're going to stick close to other people on your team. Now for this next star card, Fearless, it basically gives you an increased blast radius for each of her, I guess, thermal detonators, and I rely on the thermal detonators pretty heavily, so this is definitely a card I recommend at least trying out, if not maybe treating as one of your main cards that you rotate in and out. Now personally, I don't like the other card that helps her thermal detonators because it says you have a reduced recharge time for when you can use your next thermal detonator. The problem I have with this is if you throw one thermal detonator, it doesn't recharge. You have to throw your remaining 2 detonators before it recharges that ability. Now if you've thrown all 3 detonators, then it starts to recharge immediately after that third one gets thrown. You'll see right there I just finished throwing all 3 of them. Now when I use it, I don't ever just throw 1 or 2 at a time. 9 times out of 10, I'm throwing all 3 kind of in the same area. Sometimes I'll spread it out just depending on the situation, but the reason I do this is so that ability can recharge, and then I can get 3 more thermal detonators and just keep on going with that, because the thermal detonators truly are, I don't want to say broken, but they are very strong in this game. And it's a nice change of pace too, because Leia used to have her flash grenade, which half the time didn't even work. And even when it did work, the flashing that it actually caused, the blindness that you see as the enemy, it didn't last for too long. It was just a couple of seconds, if even that sometimes. So I never really liked that, and the thermal detonators are definitely a nice change of pace. So definitely consider these cards. Another star card you should highly consider is High Spirit. It allows Leia to regenerate an additional 100 health that she has lost, that prior to this card she wouldn't have been able to regenerate. Let's say without this card you take a bunch of damage and you're down to 300 hit points, right? Your body will automatically regenerate up to 200 of those hit points, so you can go from 300 hit points up to 500. Now, if you take any more damage before you've actually fully regenerated, then it's only 200 to whatever you get down to. So you can take up to 200 damage at any given point and then fully regenerate that 200 damage that you took. When you throw this card on, you can now get 300 now, like additional health regenerated that you just lost. So I really think it's worth it because Leia already doesn't have a ton of health. It's 650. Now her shield does give her, I guess, hit points back. It gives you 10 every second, I think, when you're standing inside of it. Now, that sounds great, and it's pretty good, but it's not incredible. Like, if you're relying on that shield to get those hit points back, you're going to be out of the action quite frequently. So just consider giving this card a chance, because 300 hit points regained is very good, especially when that's almost half of her entire health bar. This next star card, Stay Together, is a pretty big one for me, at least, because the way I play Leia is I'm always with my team. I try to stay near people as frequently as possible because she doesn't have a lightsaber. She can't just deflect oncoming blast fire. She's got to kind of stay near her shield and maybe let some of her teammates take some of that damage. So, since I'm always near people, usually at least one, if not two, this star card helps me big time. I can take an additional 10% damage that I wouldn't have previously been able to take because of that 10% damage reduction, and so can all the allies that are nearby. And that helps so much, especially in the Supremacy game mode, the Galactic Assault, any of the Trooper-based game modes. It helps wonders. I know 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but 10% of 650, that's what, 65 hit points? That can be an entire laser blast, maybe even two, just depending on who's shooting you and with what. It really does go a long way to, I guess, saving your health. And the same with the opponents, or not the opponents, but the friendlies surrounding you. Them having that extra 10% damage reduction is going to help them big time as well. It just overall, it's going to make your team stronger, and it'll be a lot easier to repel an oncoming attack, or even to push forward if you're the team that's attacking. So this is definitely a card that I consider at least in my top 4 for Leia, if not top 3. But again, with Leia, I just rotate cards in and out all the time. Now for Relentless Firing, this is another really great one. I don't know if I'd consider it top 4, maybe top 5. I'd probably put it 5th, yeah, because the E11 blaster is just such a great way to get kills. But I like Leia's main weapon so much already that I don't find myself relying on the E11. Now, if you like that just rapid fire unloading lasers into the enemy, then this is definitely a card you want to consider. It gives you a full 55% extra firing time with the E11 blaster, and that should sound like a lot because it is. That is a huge difference in the amount of time you can be just unloading into the enemy. You'll see I'm using the E11 right now, and I don't have the star card in this clip. I do not have it equipped. I am using the, well, just not that one. So I don't have the 55% extra time. And you see I was able to take out, I think it was 2 opponents right there. Probably could have got a third if there had been one available to kill, but there wasn't. So with that 55% increase, you could probably get quite a few opponents with the E11 and then switch back to her regular blaster when it runs out. Another thing I really like is the E11 recharges very fast, so you can go from completely using it and then it doing that red recharge, and it'll be ready within a few seconds. So it's really nice to have that to go if you need it, and it's really great for getting out of difficult situations. Another star card you might want to consider is the E11 damage reduction, where you take less damage while wielding the E11. I used to use that thing pretty religiously just because Leia was set up a different way. She didn't have the same abilities she does now, and I used it to get out of a lot of bad situations. Like if I was a Leia and I maybe accidentally pushed a little too hard and I didn't have the teammates to back me up to avoid possibly dying, I would use the E11, turn around, and just straight up run the opposite direction of the enemies. And since I had the damage reduction, I was able to get out of most bad situations. So you can still do that today, it's just not as necessary, especially if you play Leia the right way and stick with your teammates. So I actually just talked about this star card and I didn't pop it up while I was talking about it. I did want to pop it up right now just so y'all can see. It is a 25% damage reduction. I think it used to be more, so that might be why I kind of stopped using it so much. And this isn't one of the ones that I usually have in my rotation these days. It's just, I think she has so many better star cards, but it's definitely worth considering depending on your playstyle and if you stick with your team or not. Like if you don't stick with your team a ton, you might want to put it on and have that as like your backup plan to get out of a bad situation. But I did want to pop it up there just so y'all could see the exact statistic. It is 25%, and I think it was called Rebel Heart. I'll have to double check that just to make sure. But it is definitely worth considering, and it, again, just depends on your play style. So now I'm going to kind of move to the next part of the video, which is talking about strategies with Leia. I've already made it a constant theme through pretty much all my hero and villain videos. You kind of need to stick with your team. It's just the best way to get long kill streaks. It's the best way to defend and push objectives. It's just so much better with teammates. I mean, this is basically a Battlefield style game with a Star Wars skin. That's the best way to describe Battlefront 2. And I love it. Battlefield is usually one of my favorite types of games. I just love the big open world, the huge teams, the fact that You really have to be a good player to make a difference and I guess feel like you're doing something to benefit your team. It's a difficult game to play by yourself. If you're not playing with a team that you trust or you're not sticking with your team, it's hard. So the big thing here is stick with your team. Leia is a very teammate-based hero. For most heroes and villains, you can actually get away with going solo. Leia, I guess you can technically get away with it here too, but you'll just have so much more success if you stick with your team. On top of you possibly getting damage reduction, your teammates will also get damage reduction, which is very helpful. You've got people to watch your back, and you've got people who are expecting you to watch their back. You've got the shield that when you deploy that, it will give you health, and it doesn't just give you health, it gives your friendlies health as well. So if they're standing in it and they need that health back, they can get it from your teammate shield. So it's definitely an ability that you want to look for and maybe put near your teammates, if not put near yourself. And then you also want to use her abilities to the best of your ability. So the 11 blaster, if you have the damage reduction card for it, then you're going to want to use it as a method of possibly escaping a bad situation, or use it as a device for pushing the opponent really hard if you need to capture an objective. There's not really a specific thing I can say that will make you a better Leia. It's really just finding which star cards work best for you, figuring out how you play as Leia, and then using that in a way to get those long kill streaks and hold the line, or possibly push the line further. Just do what you can with the star cards you've put on it. I can't really give specifics because the star cards change her up so much, but that's really all I've got on Leia. If you have any additional questions or think I left anything out, go ahead and drop me a comment down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Anyways, that'll do it for this one. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.